Good evening, everyone. This is the Township of Franklin Planning Board meeting on February 17th. Everyone please rise for a silent flag salute.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Christy, you for the open public meeting statement, please.
Notice of this meeting has been given as required by the Open Public Meetings Act and the Annual Notice of Meetings. A copy was posted on the Township website. Notice of this meeting was sent to South Jersey Times and the Sentinel, and a copy was posted at the Franklin Township Municipal Building.
Okay, thank you. Roll call.
Mr. Keene?
Here.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Mr. Fiorella?
Here.
Mr. Clark? Mr. Milady?
Here.
Mr. Swade? Mr. Kelly?
Here.
Mr. Travaglione?
Here.
Chairman Pesh?
Here. Next order of business, Brandy, would you do me a favor and swear in the two members that weren't sworn in the last meeting, which is Jonathan and Wayne the engineer, please?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. You can both just stand and raise your right hands. Thank you. I state your name.
I, Jonathan Keene,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly declare and
that I
affirm
will faithfully,
that I will faithfully,
impartially, and justly
impartially, and justly
perform all the duties as a member of the Township of Franklin Planning Board
perform all the duties as a member of the Township of Franklin Planning Board
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
I do solemnly swear
I do solemnly declare and affirm
that I will support
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey,
and that I will bear true faith
that I will bear true faith
and allegiance
and allegiance
to the same
to the same
and to the governments
and to the governments
established in the United States
established in the United States
and in this state
and in this state
under the authority of the people.
under the authority of the people,
So help me God.
so help me God.
Congrats.
Congratulations, Jonathan.
Thanks, guys.
Resolutions, there is no resolutions this evening. Before I call the first application, there's 4 applications this evening. The board policy, unless the board decides differently, is that we do not start an application after 10 p.m. and there's a drop dead cutoff if we're in the middle of an application at 11 o'clock for timing purposes here. The first application this evening is PB 25-05, James Castelli.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
if I could just swear in our board professional as well. If you could just raise your right hand.
Yep.
Do you swear to the truth of any testimony you will provide today?
I do.
And if you could just state your name and your place of work.
Sure. It's Wayne Broda from Bryson and Yates Consulting Engineers, licensed professional engineer as well as a licensed professional planner in the state of New Jersey.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Welcome to the applicant. This applicant, oh, you do the other one, witness, I'll bring the applicant up.
Yeah, we're going, yeah.
If you could just raise your right hand. Do you swear to the truth of any testimony you will provide today? And if you could just state your name. And you are the applicant, correct? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So, Mr. Castelli owns the 20 acres. It's in Malaga, opposite Malaga Terrace. Right now, there is a 1 acre home, actually, a 1 acre homestead and 19 acres of farmland. What Mr. Castelli is proposing to do is to separate off the residential use from the farm use. So, this is block 5101, lot 3. And you will see in your application packet, I included a zoomed in, page of where all the action is on this lot. And you'll be able to readily see the variances. It looks like this. Okay. So what is proposed here is as I said, to separate off the residential use. So the proposal is for 1.7 acre lot. The zone requires 2 acres for a duplex. There is a reason why even though he has plenty of land, there is a reason why he's asking for 1.7 acres rather than 2 acres, and that is just to preserve as much of the farmland as possible. And also the fact that if you look at where the house is situated and the septic field is situated, and with the knowledge that this lot has really always been considered a 1 acre homestead, and then the rest was farm use, he's requesting to only have to do 1.7 acres with the house. The second thing that he's asking for is the front yard setback. This is an pre-existing condition. It's 7.5 feet from the current width of Delsea Drive. I'm sure it wasn't that way when it was built back in the 20s or whenever. You could testify as to when the house was built. It's been in this building for generations. And the third variance he needs is that the farm lot itself is supposed to have 50.02 feet of frontage on Delsea Drive. Now, I would just remind the board, from a design point of view, 50 feet wide is, plenty sufficient to get in and out of the lot. It's actually the equivalent of many 2-lane roads. And luckily, it's opposite Malaga Terrace. So if the DOT or anybody ever thought in the future to put a traffic light there, it's like perfectly situated to have people coming out at the same spot that the Malaga Terrace folks are coming out. So those are the 3 variances he's requesting. And if you would like, I can have Mr. Castelli come up and talk about the use of the house as a duplex. It's been an existing use of the duplex, again, for decades. If you feel that's necessary, he's prepared to talk about it.
How do you know the property? Anyone from the board that would like the applicant? Or is there 3 converted property?
All right.
This time, let's go to the solicitor, the application order, sir.
Yes, after my review, everything in the application.
Thanks. Okay, on the engineering side, do you have comments?
Yeah, a few. So this is referring to CME's letter dated December 4th of 25. They did at the time recommend that the application be deemed complete. Took a look, so no issues in regards to completeness. Then obviously there's the question as far as the variance for the lot area. So as far as the 1.7 acres, I mean, you guys are familiar with the property, unless you see any reason for an additional piece to be carved out. I mean, you can get a little creative, I guess, on that back line, and my initial thought was even to kick it out, but it's just really a matter of, it's to me a kind of call it a housekeeping thing. Do we really have to hit that number of 2 acres, or does this seem like a good configuration? So, I mean, from the configuration standpoint, it makes sense. It's short of I couldn't figure out the jog in the front tire. I don't know if you knew anything about that, as far as what happened there.
Yeah, I don't know, I think this is a good thing.
Okay. That's what I figured. It had something to do with the DOT. But otherwise, it's I would call it, short of being a rectangular trapezoidal lot, so it's just a matter of, do we want to make it more complicated just to meet the 2 acre requirement? So.
We have to listen to the route that we took 0.3 acres of farmland away.
Yeah, and I would certainly would agree that, it would make sense in terms of maximizing farmland and so forth. Wouldn't argue with that.
The numbers you're talking about is 15%.
Yeah.
25% of 2 acres.
Yep.
13,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Compared to 84,000. So.
Agreed. All right, and let's see. So as far as the frontage is concerned, Ms. Vargo did point out that, as far as the width is concerned, again, I don't see any issue with that. in the sense that be it a driveway, roadway, whatever you want to consider it, 50 foot is more than adequate for this particular use. One question I did have is in regards to access to the farm itself. Is it intended to go through that 50-foot strip? I mean, I know it's kind of called dirt road path out there now. Is that the intent to maintain that? Is that how the farm is currently accessed, as opposed to the farmstead through the U-shaped driveway? How does the farmer access the farm today?
Yeah,
I guess
I
is the
will
question.
let Mr. Castelli come up and talk about that, because he doesn't currently come, the farmers don't currently come in that way.
Yeah, the farm right now is access to the neighbor's farm.
Okay.
One of the densely going right now, he enters through the property south of the farm, and it just comes around. It's all fine.
Gotcha. Is there a cross-access easement, do you know of, or is it just because it's contiguous, he just crosses over?
The range is put up.
So it's contiguous, okay. Yeah, but with the 50-foot stem, again, no issue should they decide that should things change, should the neighboring farm no longer be a farm and access is cut off, you still have that 50-foot wide opening, if you will, coming in off of Delsea. So I was just curious as to how it was accessed today and if there was any need really for improvement within that strip, or if it's just going to be maintained that back and forth now. But in the future, should it happen, I assume you would agree to provide some sort of access from Delsea coming in. Okay. And let's see. And again, as far as the pre-existing nonconformity, no issue there. In regards to the house, we're not going to ask you to move the duplex. And let's see. Oh, there is another thing. As far as, and this is something that CME pointed I saw as well on the plat itself, the encroachment of the neighbor's driveway onto the property. So right now, looking at the plan, it looks like a pin would be set, I'll say, in the first quarter of the paved driveway of the neighbor. Have you talked to your neighbor?
Well, during the summer,
Okay.
and he was going to talk to his partner about it, but he never got back to me.
Because as far as the encroachment, I think you have a couple options. One is to negotiate or work out with your neighbor a cross-access easement so he has legal right to have his driveway where it is currently, or remove the driveway. So my gut feel in terms of being a good neighbor, you'd want to have that cross-access easement. Again, that'd be my recommendation, short of telling your neighbor you have to technically get it off your property. And then just make sure he's aware that you're going to have a survey marker, not in the middle of his driveway, but within his driveway. Yeah, so just let him know if you ever remove said driveway, that don't take the pin out. And then I think a couple other things that were not in CME's letter that I did want to cover. One thing I would ask you, Ms. Vargo, you can tell me if you'd object, but it should be fairly commonplace. As far as should you get approval, any issues with providing lot closure calculations, legal descriptions prior to verifying the deed or as part of the deed review process and so forth?
Right, the normal course of events being that I send a proposed form of deed to the solicitor, send a...
Legals over my way, yep.
Right.
Okay. And then last thing, again, it's another housekeeping item as far as, I know there are lot numbers identified on the plat, but ultimately you're subject to the tax assessor telling you what those lot numbers are,
Right.
unless you've already preliminarily vetted that out. And if so,
Yeah, we routinely do it. I can't tell you right now whether this is done in this case. There might be a note on the plan saying that it got, but yes.
okay, yeah, just verify.
We always do it with the tax assessor.
Okay. I think with that, I believe I've covered everything I was looking for, and also what CME had in their letter. And again, as far as, I presume no issue, providing coordinate values around the tract.
Right.
There's another one of it. It's under engineering comments.
Closure.
Closure, but yeah, and then providing, it's a technicality that if you're filing by deed, you're not going to need it because no one's going to see the actual plat, but but it's in CME's letter regardless, and it's an easy thing. And with that, Mr. Chairman, that's what I got, unless you guys got
And
questions.
From the planner standpoint, there's no comment from the planner standpoint.
Yeah, as far as, so I think,
They were the engineering comments.
Yeah.
I'm covering the planner.
oh yeah, for planner, so yeah, there are 3 variances being sought tonight, one for the lot frontage, the 50-foot, the other for the lot area of the residential to remain, as well as the the pre-existing nonconformity for the front yard setback. So based on the testimony provided, no objections to any of those variance requests.
Okay. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to open the hearing to the public.
Make a motion to open public.
Move second, all in favor?
Aye.
We're open to the public for comment on this application only. Seeing none?
Make a motion to close public comment.
Move second, all in favor?
Aye.
Jim, were you second? No.
Okay. Any questions from the board, or is there an action?
I just wanted to make sure I put it on the record because we have a new solicitor and I'm not sure how he likes to do things, but let me formally put it on the record that I think the applicant has shown that the variances can be granted without substantial detriment to the zone plan. And that's
Thank you.
Good catch.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
other comments by board members, I make a motion to approve CG 2505 with the variances as executed by the applicant.
Moved and seconded, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Fiorella?
Yes.
Mr. Keane?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Milady?
Yes.
Mr. Travaglione?
I recuse myself.
Chairman Pesh?
Yes. Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you.
Our next application this evening is PB 25-06, the Amber.
Scarum is representing the applicant, Amber-Degraff Irrevocable Trust. And this too is a minor subdivision in the residential agricultural zone. It is, the plan here is to divide two existing parcels owned by the same owner into three parcels, allowing for another residential property. So we've got lot number 45, which is got 11.1 acres, it would be reduced in size about 1.6 acres down to 9.5. Lot number 44, which is today exclusively residential, and exclusively agricultural, is 4.8 acres and 3.8 acres. So the 1.6 and 1 acre that's carved out of those two, result in a 2.6 acre lot, which is intended to be a residential building lot. This
Council, let's start with your professional and your applicant, and yeah, I would go, if we would start.
Great. Well,
Okay, and you come forward, and Brandon will tell if
our engineer is on Zoom, and our witness is the trustee to the owner of trust is Mr. Amber. That's mine.
You can both just raise your right hand. Do you swear to the truth of any testimony you'll provide today? And if you would just state your name and who you are to the application. And you're the applicant, or?
I'm the trustee.
Got it. Okay. Understood.
And my name is Thomas Clue, I'm from Commission LLC, I'm the applicant's engineer. My introduction will be short. I will very quickly to the engineer. We'll be able to answer your questions more accurately than the ownership of the two parcels and eventually the three parcels in cases is basically a family trust. The folks are currently engaged in the agricultural activities on the site. The variance we're seeking is for the buffer on the residential parcel adjoining an agricultural parcel. So, I presume that is, the goal of that is to protect agricultural operators from bothersome neighbors, or the other way around, residential properties create intrusion from agricultural activities. In this case, we've got the same same person and the same family on both sides of that line, so I think that they know what they're in for. And I think that anybody who comes to this property 20 years from now is going to be looking at a fully built structure, and they can make their judgments on that. So I think I would defer technical questions to Mr. Keaton.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Thomas, I'm an engineer. So just to reiterate what Mr. Skinner discussed, this is a minor subdivision of lots 44 and 45. Just as part of my testimony, I'd like to briefly discuss the disposition of the proposed conditions and also the question here. So again, this is for existing lots 44 and 45 of block 402. The site is entirely in the RA zone, which is the residential agricultural zone. The site is situated on the north side of Fergeson Avenue. North of the project site is heavily wooded area with some residential areas. To the east is additional residential properties. To the west is an Atlantic City electric easement. Down that easement is just more wooded areas. South of the property is more residential properties and farmland. So for our site, lot 44 is currently farmed with fenced animals and fenced areas for farm areas, fenced areas for farm animals. And there's a portion of the wooded area that kind of splits the two lots of 44 and 45. Existing lot 45 has one dwelling on it, with a few stables, farm structures, as well as asphalt driveway, farmland, and more fenced in. I would like to note there are two roadway accesses onto Fergeson Avenue. One is for the residential use and also for farm access, which is the one on the right side of that road. It is on level septic. That covers the existing conditions. As for the proposed conditions, we are creating one new lot, which we are calling proposed lot 46. I would like to note that 44 is going to remain as agricultural use. 45 is going to remain as is with residential and agricultural use. Proposed lot 46, although we didn't create plans for it yet, lot 46 will be residential. So there aren't any proposed conditions shown on the subdivision yet, but they will be provided with conditions.
So where on this map is the indication?
Yes, lot 46 is going basically splitting the lot 44 and lot 45. So the old area represents the proposed
here, you straddle the two.
The old lines represent the proposed lot. So there, as I mentioned, this is going to be a residential use. There is going to be one dwelling with a footprint of 3,500 square feet. Footprint, not overall square footage. This is we're proposing a 3-bedroom house. There's going to be some site amenities, including full sidewalk, asphalt driveway, and I would like to note that there is a typo in the bulk requirements table. I think I originally said greater than 35 feet for the height of the building. It's actually less than 35 feet. that would have been a massive house.
I'm sorry, back up a little. Right before asphalt, you mentioned sidewalks.
Oh, just the service walks just around the house, just to get from the driveway to a, so not along the frontage, just within the.
That's what in full disclosure, I'm outside the 200 foot, but that's where we take the dogs and stop and turn around and go back out to stand. So, it's in my neighborhood, I'm outside the 200 foot range, so when you say sidewalks back there, it's like, wait a minute, I don't think.
Sorry, no public sidewalks.
Now, if you want to put sidewalks out to Stanton, that would be okay, but, not on our dime.
I would like to note that we are proposing a 35-foot wide driveway easement on the west side of the proposed lot 46. This covers the existing stone driveway that's there today. We're intending to basically cross the front of the house with the driveway and tie into the existing stone driveway on lot 45.
Reiterate what you said, the easement would burden the existing lot 45, and it would benefit the new lot 46. It would provide an exit access to the driveway, the existing driveway.
And as proposed, we're requesting two variances. So the one variance is for a 50-foot wide side yard landscape buffer, and then we're requesting a 100-foot rear yard buffer. From what I understand, there is an agricultural buffer that's required for residential properties when they are adjacent to agricultural uses. So we're proposing to not provide either of those buffers. I believe it's more of a screening or a visual screening, just a way of screening the residential property from the agricultural property. But considering both lots are owned by the same person,
One of the very reasons they're asking for the variance is the farmer who will live in that house wants to see his property. Wants full access, visual access to the agricultural property.
I have a question about the access easement. Are you proposing that we condition the approval on the access for lot 46 to be through that easement, and are you going to restrict access to lot 46 by virtue of a deed restriction, or is that just what you're currently proposing?
Do you mind saying it again?
Sure. Lot 46, it appears as though your testimony is that you're going to access lot 46 through this easement. Is there going to be a restriction placed on the deed for lot 46 that would not permit any other additional access onto Fergeson Avenue?
We don't know of any reason why that's necessary, but I mean, if that were a board condition, we would consider it.
I don't have an opinion one way or another, but it seems as though your application presented the fact that it would reduce access points to Fergeson Avenue, so I didn't know if you were proposing that as a condition or not. It's just a question.
Well, yeah, the intent is for the owner of lot 45 to still be able to use that farm lane, still be able to use that same driveway as a farm lane to access the rear of their property, as well as a primary driveway for lot 46. So we would submit a legal description and
the easement is to benefit lot 46, right?
yeah, on 45.
On 45.
Okay.
So this would be a deed restriction on lot 45. It would have to be filed with the county.
No, it would be on 46, and I'm not proposing that they offer that. I was curious if that was the intent, the permanent in perpetuity required the access to 46 through the easement.
Not to speak for Jason, but I think the real question is what happens when ownership of all three of these lots change? And how are we protecting 46 to have access to his property when there's no protection written in on 45 to allow him to use it?
I can do that. It's a trust, it's irrevocable, so we don't plan on actually selling the property at all. I have two boys, they're 30 plus, we need a grandchild. So we actually have them as our beneficiaries, so we plan on keeping the farm property in the family forever.
I can ask the same thing.
And I just
So
checked
there's a trust there.
You know, you're planning for your family.
Yes, sir.
Things happen.
Oh, of course, I know.
So maybe it is a good idea that to have some sort of, something documented, for the 46 to have access. Yes, I do think that we will have a legally binding easement converting lot 45 to benefit lot 46.
That's where we're getting,
I
that's
think
where
the
we're headed.
subdivision plan will depict it. It will be part of the subdivision, be part of our legal description as we file. Now, do we further think that we need to promise that we'll never look for another driveway off from Fergeson once that lot?
No, I don't think that's really the question. The concern is, and there wasn't
that was my
actually
question.
Mr. Grant's,
Yeah, what's
his thought.
Right.
No, I don't.
You're not proposing that?
We're not proposing
Okay,
that.
thank you.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
That's it for my testimony.
Okay. Wayne?
Yep.
You want to jump in here?
Sure. So there's a few items CME noted in their letter of December 3rd of 2025 in regards to completeness. CME had pointed out there's 4 bulleted items on page 2 in regards to all existing structures and wooded areas to be depicted within 200 feet of the parcel. They're not currently shown. Name and address of property owners adjacent to the parcels. Another housekeeping item, soil types not identified on the plan. No qualified farmland on any adjacent parcels has been identified. So I agree with CME's assessment. I have no issues in terms of if the applicant, which I presume is going to ask for waivers for those items for completeness, no objection to said waivers if they're asking for them. Presume. All right. So unless the board has any comments, concerns in regards to completeness, I think we move forward, deem them complete in that regard. Okay, moving on. In regards to variances, so there's called a 2-part variance request as far as to variances to not provide the required 50-foot buffer along the side yards as well as 100 feet in the rear yard for proposed lot 46. So again, the testimony provided is that the owner and the future occupant, if you will, of lot dwelling to be built on lot 46 would prefer to have visual access, I guess, on all sides to the farm itself. So unless you guys have any questions, comments, or concerns, again, it would, it's not the right word. If this were to change hands down the road, someone wouldn't be able to come back and say, hey, how come there's no fencing, there's no screen, I don't want to see a farm. Hopefully it's not the case, but if that were the case, that's just something that, somewhere down the line, if ownership does change, they can't come back and, this future owner can't come back and say, how come there's no buffer per the ordinance? In this case, a variance is granted. So I see no issues, nor do I have any objections to said request based on the testimony given. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, by all means, please let me know or shoot it on out for the record.
Brandon, irrevocable trust.
Yes.
Our concerns about the buffer and the stuff that was discussed. It's an irrevocable trust.
Correct.
It's not going to change ownership down the road where you've got 3 different people complaining about, or 3 different lots where people are complaining why didn't we put the buffer in there. Is that a correct assumption?
Assumption is probably the key word there. Correct assumption, as Mr. Kelly did state, stuff happens. Right? It's an irrevocable trust right now. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. However, it usually locks it in. Usually that means it's going to stay with the family. That's why they do that kind of stuff. Again, I can't predict the future, but as of right now, it's rock solid.
Anybody else have questions before we open to the public?
Actually, Joe, can I hit a couple other things real quick?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So one is in regards to a couple things I wanted to point out in regards to the, residential lots. So right now, both, lots are Q farm assessed, I believe, is the right phrase to use. That, when you carve out, and this is something that won't affect the subdivision itself, I just want to make sure the applicant is aware that when you, as you may be aware currently for the residential portion of the farmland, it'll change your tax status. So in terms of, if 46 is going to be all residential, you'll have to pay back, I forget how many years, it might be 3 years or 5 years of rollback taxes for changing the Q farm assessment. So just wanted you to be aware of that, but if you do a portion of the lot, then again, that's something you have to work out between the assessor and so forth. Not material to the subdivision, I just want you to make sure you're aware of that.
I am.
Okay. And then, let's see. And what, it's to be residential, the whole lot, or will some of that be farmed, or to be determined?
To be determined. I mean,
Okay.
Part of it is I want to be able to monitor the animals, so,
Yeah.
we could fence out the front. Right now, it's paddocked out, but we're
Gotcha.
breaking, and I would like to have, we leave the yard, we want to have agriculture, so that's what we're planning to do.
Okay. And then to follow up on Jason's question, I think it was clarified, I just want to make sure. So you're going to have the driveway access through cross-access easement from lot 45 for the benefit of 46, but you're not saying that you might put in another driveway on lot 46 down the road. So depending on how this is configured, if you want to add another driveway, so you're not looking to add a deed restriction to prevent yourself from adding another driveway entrance, I guess is what I'm getting at.
That is correct.
Okay, just wanted to clarify that for the record so it was clear. All right, and then you are aware that obviously for utilities, well and septic, you go through the county, so for future residential development, and at that time, you should also be subject to come back for a lot grading plan as well to the municipality. There is a comment pointed out, and it wasn't really touched upon, but it's one of those things, it's another technicality in the ordinance as far as the driveway. So we're gonna have that shared driveway on lot 45, whether or not, I'd have to take a closer look to see at what point where it would have impact as far as it was an item on page 5, letter B, in regards to a driveway length of exceeding 500 feet, required to have a line around, turnaround area and so forth. So, okay.
We're making sure that's in place.
Gotcha. Okay. So your intent's to comply with that. Okay. And let's see. Cover the lot. Typo with 35 feet. We're good. And as far as, and again, I'm not sure how it applies, but as far as looking at the proposed lot lines, and then there will be separate ownership. As far as the configuration of the animal pens, it looks like half will be on one lot, half on the other. What is your plan there to address, once lot 46 becomes residential? Are you going to keep the pens, or are you going to reconfigure them?
Reconfigure them like people.
Okay, gotcha. Okay,
To be determined, but we'd like to
Yeah.
have more than that.
gotcha. All right, that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Good, okay. It's time to entertain a motion to open, application to the public.
I'll take a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're open to the public for comment on this application. Seeing none, hearing none, at this time, entertain a motion to close public
Motion to
portion.
close.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Who was the second?
Board have any questions?
I have a silly question, Chairman. Curious, where is the proposal for the house? I think you said that you want to have a home. Do you know like the location of that on the lot yet? And as I'm looking at this, you have.
Construction plans and so on, but that's certainly, they've already been thinking about that when we designed the size of the lot, so.
Okay.
Yeah, I would just like to note that the proposed house is going to be located in the northwest, top left quadrant of the proposed lot 46. It's going to be completely within the yard setback, so everything's the entirety of the zoning requirements are going to be.
Okay, so it is lying within pre-existing lot 45, which already has a dwelling. Correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Right, yeah, so it's going to be, it's basically where lot 45 was, it's
Right. Okay.
creating lot 46 for that reason, so.
Okay, and so my question would be, it seems as though other members of the board, and don't let me speak for everybody up here, but there was a slight concern of what happens if the property changes hands, and one day somebody owns 45, one day somebody owns 46, which I don't wish for your family. Sarah, I hope you have this for generations. But is it possible for us to, or for the applicant to propose a variance to just have an additional dwelling unit on the pre-existing lot as opposed to subdividing the lot altogether? This is, I guess it's a question for my engineer. It can't be a variance to do that? Okay. Okay.
Township committee would go crazy when they found out we did that, and everybody was wanting to do it.
Splitting
Fair
of
enough.
taxes is the biggest issue.
That's my questions. Thank you.
Okay. If there's no other comments, is there a motion?
Motion to approve PB
706.
Motion, is there a second down there, Jen?
Yes.
John for the second, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Fiorello?
Yes.
Mr. Keane?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Milady? Mr. Travaglione?
Yes.
Chairman Petch?
Yes. Congratulations. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay, moving on, PB 25-07941 Garrison LLC, please. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for introducing the application. Board consultant, Ms. Mulford. My name is Michael Brigio. I'm here on behalf of the applicant in this matter. The lead limited liability company, thus the company is required to be represented by counsel, my name is attorney, and I think Garrison LLC, and the limited liability company. One of whom is present, which is receiving comments from Mr. Delsea Sr., is an authorized representative as a member of the company, and is prepared to give testimony to the extent that testimony is required. Board members, this is an application involving a 19.8 acre parcel of ground located on the south side of Catawba Avenue. I would mention that this application features a property located in the township's RA zoning district, just like the other two applications that we've heard this evening. It also involves a minor subdivision. The differentiating circumstance, however, is this application comes before the board without the necessity for the consideration of variance relief. I would respectfully submit, and I believe that the review report issued by the engineer and planner, whose consultants very much reveal that the application is fully satisfactory in terms of all the criteria set forth with respect to property in this particular zone. In effect, board members, this is an application to subdivide a 19.8 acre parcel of land, which is vacant, is presently undeveloped, but is utilized for farming and also utilized for woodland conservation and preservation, like Strip says, into two equally sized lots consisting of 9.92 acres, sufficiently large to accommodate ultimately that the board will single-family home on this particular property. So we would request, obviously, the board's consideration, favorable consideration of this minor subdivision. We would also note that regarding receipt of the engineering and planning report issued to the board dated January 13th of 2026, were prepared by way of testimony to address some of the considerations that the board professionals indicated should be addressed at this board meeting this evening. All right. After the housekeeping, you can have the applicant or the applicant representative and any other persons that may be testifying come forward to be sworn in, please.
Any other witnesses or? Okay. Do you raise your right hand? Do you swear to the truth of the testimony that you'll provide today? And if you could just state your name for the record. Can you spell that?
G-O-B-O-L-S-K-I.
All right, Mr. Boston, you and I had occasion to review on these two occasions the review report from a planning standpoint and also from an engineering standpoint by the board professionals with respect to the application. So some mention was made that it should be addressed this evening about the intended purpose of the subdivision. It is to preserve the property in its current state, am I correct? Absolutely. And in terms of current usage, however, the subdivision is proposed to eventually accommodate transfer of each particular lot to other members of the Delsea family. Do I have that? That's not here now or present. Is that? Yes. All right. So there's another issue with respect to the Catawba Avenue existing drive opening, if any, and whether or not a drive ultimately can be accommodated. That's the consideration.
Right now, there's only two clear roads on the side of the property. And the farm, the people that farm that now do not access all the South Avenue. They also farm the piece next to us and all the farm vehicles from this farm.
And is it immediately anticipated that arrangement's going to remain in place? In other words, the farmer will continue to have access to the agricultural portion of this particular lot by virtue of the farmer that you just. Now, you do understand, ultimately, when this property is sought to be developed, and I believe we should indicate to the board for single-family residential, the home on each of the two equally sized particular properties, it's understood, one, that the applicant, whoever is going to develop the home, a family member, will be required to get county health department approval with respect to septic. Do you understand that? It's also understood that county health department approval will be required to accommodate an individual well on this particular property. No doubt road opening permits are going to be required when construction is underway, right? And dedicated driveways associated with the two residential structures are going to be required. And also, I mentioned earlier about a grading plan that needs to be presented to the township in the context of any development, even involving a single-family home. And we understand that moving forward, when applications are made for the actual development of these particular lots, all of those considerations need to be included. Mr. Chairman, I have nothing to board. I have nothing. Thank you, sir. Brenda, I'm sorry, I missed earlier. I didn't ask. Are the notifications in order?
Yes, everything's in order. I had an opportunity to review them, and everything's all set.
Very good. All right, Wayne, to you for comments on the CME report, please.
The only one I have, so again, CME issued a report on January 13th, 2026. Council was nice enough to go through all the bulleted items. There's one thing, or a couple things I do want to add or have questions on. One is in regards to when future development for the single-family homes comes to fruition, access to the farms by farmers. So at that time, I guess, I don't know if it's in terms of when the appropriate time would be, is the intent to have cross-access easements provided. So whether it be through a secondary driveway, if you will, for the farmer to access off of Catawba, or if it's going to be across the property, there should be some legal means, if you will, so that when single-family homes go up, again, it should, should it not stay in the family, again, looking to the future, things change, someone else is in there, and they start wondering, why is this tractor coming across into my lot? And then I guess it's just a matter of, I presume that the farm would carry with that lot, so it's a matter of how it's farmed and so forth, and how access to the farm was provided. So, for example, if access is from the right to the one to the other, if the farm is in agreement, the farmer farms here and here, but not this guy in the middle, how does he get around? Does he have to go into Catawba and get around? Will another driveway be provided? I guess I'm trying to figure out how to future-proof access so that it remains legal should the lots come into different ownership and agreements change with adjacent farming.
I respectfully submit that the combination of access is a private matter.
Okay.
In terms of the development.
Okay.
So, obviously, this gentleman,
Yep.
he's savvy, he
Yeah.
understands decent transactions and accommodating interested parties will certainly recognize that. And
Okay.
the family.
Yeah, this is more for protection of the applicant as far as, moving forward.
This lot's gonna get developed further.
Okay.
This is gonna remain farmland. So it's not gonna be, the farmland's not saying that you go to the
Gotcha.
We have family members that live right next door already anyway.
Okay. But I guess, so the other question is that when they become single-family homes, is the intent to still farm portions of the land? Or, I mean, obviously it's at your discretion, but I just wanted to make sure that you don't jam yourself up later in terms of access to said farm area, should you keep a portion as a farm.
The other question, that front portion, is that even farm? It looks like the majority of the property is woodland.
Yeah, the front portion is farmed.
Right.
There's not much in that property is clear.
Right, yeah, the majority of
wood line is not that far back.
Okay. And so with that, I think, again, I was remiss to mention in the last one, but these are more housekeeping items as far as, I presume, no issues with providing legal descriptions, lot closure calculations, so it's formal engineering surveying stuff to take care of, so.
We understand.
Yep. All right, other than that, no other comments?
Okay, we just touch on the rollback, although we don't have jurisdiction on it, so
Yep.
it's on the record that the applicant was advised about the rollback on
Yeah, so should you, if these lots, I believe which are Q farmed assessed, just be aware, just as mentioned, if you heard in the last application, that as things change and you can have the residential component added, that you may be subject to rollback taxes for 3 years back taxes as the portion that's no longer Q farmed assessed.
That's understood.
Yeah, just so you're aware.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. Any other questions? Okay, motion open to public. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're open to the public for comments on this application. Seeing none, hearing none, motion to close. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we have any additional comments or questions, or is there a motion? I have a motion to approve PB 25-07. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Fiorella?
Yes.
Mr. Keane?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Malady?
Yes.
Mr. Travaglione?
Yes.
Chairman Pesh?
Yes. Congratulations. Thank you so much for your time. Our final application this evening is PD 25-04, Newfield Lane LLC. Yeah, exactly.
Good night. Thank you. Please, sir.
Edward Paul hearing on behalf of Newfield Lane LLC.
I'm sorry, I missed the name, speaker.
My name is Edward Paul. I'm hearing on behalf of Newfield Lane LLC, the applicant. This involves a parcel 16.54 acres at 1320 Portland Highway. The proposal for the application is to have the site plan approval for 200,200 square foot warehouse. I have Michael DeCampi appearing to the applicant, and Corey Gaskell of Relinger Engineering, and also Brian Shropshire Attractions.
Okay, have them all come forward, please, to be sworn in.
Mr. Chairman, before we swear in the board professionals, if I may, just real quick, there were some plans that were disseminated today. I just want to make sure first that the board did receive them, as well as the engineer, and they had an opportunity to review those plans.
Yeah, let's get that,
Which plans were that?
I do have some copies, which they were architectural renderings.
okay. Are you aware of the conversations that took place last week? Are you going for preliminary or preliminary and final this evening?
We were going to preliminary and final, but, we'll discuss the architectural, if the board needs something more, we can.
Okay.
Either condition and approval on.
I want to bring the board up to speed so that we're all on the same page. The application is for preliminary, the original application was for preliminary and final this evening. It was discovered last week that there was no architectural drawings submitted. I was on a phone conference call with our solicitor and our board secretary, and the applicant was advised that if you want finals, we'll be glad to hear it this evening, but we need the architectural by close of business on Friday. That never arrived. Today we received a 3-page conceptual drawings. So unless the board feels differently, I don't know that we can give final tonight without having architectural drawings. We'd be glad to hear you.
And Mr. Chairman, just to add to that, I did speak with the engineer prior to the start of this meeting, and my understanding is there's some other deficiencies in regards to stormwater that do exist as well that might affect any consideration of final site plan.
Okay. We'll be glad to continue, but I don't want the perception that final can be granted without the architectural drawings. And today around 11 o'clock, the 3-page conceptual drawings were received. That's really not what we were talking about. So,
Mr. Chairman, the only thing I would note is that in the original review letter from CME, they did advise the applicant that the architectural had to be provided to the board on the evening of the hearing.
but you are aware of the comment. To me, I was unaware of that CME comment. To me, the conversation last week was that it's unfair to hand the board the architectural drawings this evening to look at. That's why the Friday at close of business date was communicated to your, I believe to your office, communicated to the applicant, so that the board had the opportunity to review those architectural drawings over the weekend and in preparation for tonight. I don't feel, unless the board feels differently, and I'll yield to the board's decision, I don't think it's fair to hand the architecturals to the board this evening and say, here it is, take a look at it.
Well, Mr. Pesh, these aren't even architecturals, correct?
No, the ones I saw today were conceptual.
Well, I agree. I mean, I knew of this conversation, I knew of the Friday deadline, and if you knew of something different on Friday from CME, then you should have said so. So we were operating under the plan that those plans weren't delivered by Friday, then the only thing that could be given tonight was a preliminary approval on our part.
Which we're glad to move through. We're not telling you no. I just want to be upfront with you with the communications that I had about the architecture.
If I can ask one of the applicant.
Let's do the swearing in first.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. Brandon, let's take care of the swearing.
Absolutely. If everybody could just step up and raise their right hands. Do you solemnly swear to the truth of the testimony that you'll provide today? And then we'll go one by one, starting with the applicant. If you could just state your name,
Sure.
please.
My name is Fergeson Avenue Franklinville, applicant.
Can you spell your last name for me?
Theapplicant.
Thank you.
I'm Brian Proctor with Proctor Associates in Traffic.
Can you just spell your last name for me?
SHROP, SHIRE, and Brian with a Y.
For Delsea Drive Malaga, I am the project engineer.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, go ahead with your comment. I'm sorry.
apologize.
The housekeeping piece I got to get taken care of.
Absolutely. We apologize for the late presenting of the architectural drawings. We don't have an end user for building design yet. Right now we're still in the preliminary phase of getting land approval. So with that, we don't have the final building fully designed right now. And depending on the end user, that building type could change or be altered ever so slightly. We're going after a cold storage use. So those buildings have typical sizes, configurations, looks to them, but we didn't want to, without a full end user, just come up with a design. We're open to the board being a part of that design and having say in the building, the colors, the type. We understand that it's got to be architecturally pleasing, and everybody wants to have a say in what it might look like. So we do apologize. It wasn't facetious, or we weren't trying to fool anything. We just don't have a building design yet.
All right. And like I said, I'm willing to keep moving forward and see where it takes us. I just want to get it out there that there was an issue with it. And I believe I remember, this was in front of EDC about a year ago. So, matter of fact, in a month of March, it's been a year. So, the fact that we're going back and forth about that, we'll see. Let's move forward, Councilor.
I do have some extra copies of what was sent earlier today. If the board wants to have them for your purposes tonight.
Council, did you get one, Brandon?
I received it earlier and I reviewed it.
This is being passed out the board. You want to label it?
Yes, if we can label it Exhibit A at this time. And then we have two additional. Okay. Okay.
And the other board, or parts of the plan were on record.
Thank you.
Wait, you okay? I have extra copies. You okay with copies?
No, I'm good.
Okay. And then you have electronically, Chris?
Yes.
Okay.
You're a member of Newfield Land LLC. Yeah. And there are how many other members? Sure. And what are their names?
Francesco Aldino and Brian Bevan.
And do you have any experience in developing commercial land?
I do. I'm a licensed professional engineer in 10 states. I'm a structural engineer, so I have single-handedly designed hundreds of warehouses throughout my career as a structural engineer. We have gone through the land development approval for another warehouse previously as well in a different township. So I've not physically built the warehouse, but I have gone through it in the design aspect from the structural side and through the land development.
Are you familiar with the project that we're on today about the warehouse site at 1521 Highway?
Thanks.
Explain the concept to the board.
The concept is to provide a Class A industrial type facility specifically for cold storage. So the idea is to attract a Class A tenant to the area, to use modern day technology to cold storage facility to distribute, process, break down, and store coal products.
Michael, explain your definition of Class A cold storage. The Class A part of cold storage.
Class A is a category of a type of building that, in the eyes of a end user, would be of the highest quality. So that would mean the longevity of the building is there. It's not going to break down over time. So from a look standpoint, that might be precast concrete panels or high-end insulated metal panels as opposed to just steel cladding or siding or something like that. The depth of the building, the orientation of the building, all aspects of the building are of the highest quality and standards for energy efficiency, for use, for circulation, and longevity.
Sure. So, is the proposed use of the building now is cold storage?
Correct.
So, is there, can that building be used for anything other than cold?
It depends on how it's built, but whatever use that would go into that building in the future would have to obviously fit within the allowable uses per the code. So I think it's in an LM district, but for a cold storage facility, if you're going to put the money into that type of facility, then it's going to go that way. It's a higher end use, it's more costly to build that way. Not to mention the height and the orientation of it doesn't really fit other uses as well. So I would imagine they would stay cold storage.
And why cold storage? What led your LLC to want to do this?
One of my family friends and one of my uncles is involved in different types of meat packaging and importing, not related to us, but they came to me and they said that there's a shortage of cold storage space in the area. And that got me thinking that, between Vineland that has certified USDA inspectors down there, and the fact that we're within that 30-mile radius of the port, the Philadelphia port's being upgraded, there's a lot of tonnage that comes in. Right now in this area, there's an opportunity for upgraded cold storage facilities, because you have the inspectors local in Vineland, you have the close proximity to all the different ports. So it's a great use. It's not as transportation intensive as, say, like mile warehouses or distribution warehouses. It's a lot more regulated. So it's a good fit for this area and the proximity to the different nodes.
And what is the projected cost?
Projected cost would probably be in the $40 to $60 million.
And how is that getting financed?
At this time, it would be financed through private equity or our larger type development.
Other question.
Sure.
You said you don't have a tenant or
we do not have
Are you looking for a tenant or are you looking for?
we would pursue either option.
Are you going to spec it if you know?
That would be the goal, yeah. I mean, in this area, you could attract, once it's approved, you get a lot more interest from end users. So, the goal is to attract that end user that we could develop for, or, if there was somebody willing to expand here, then, we could pursue that route as well.
Another question, your LLC group, what's your goal here? I mean, is the intent to own it for some extended period of time, or are you going to flip it within a certain time?
Whatever's most economically feasible for us.
So you're not committed to a long-term ownership?
I didn't say that, but whatever makes the most economic sense for us.
If somebody offers you like money, you're not committed to long-term ownership?
Whatever's the most economic for us from our standpoint.
So, quick question for me.
Yes.
With the cold storage aspect, how much weight should we be giving that and looking at the application? You're committed to that aspect, or is there a possibility that at some point there could be a change to some other type of warehouse?
At this time, that is our main focus.
So for the purposes of the review tonight, we should all assume that it could be cold storage?
Yeah, my engineer can speak to that as well, but we went through different avenues to ensure that whatever use, whether it's for transportation or land development, or we kind of maximize it out that the information we're presenting is accurate to the building size and type.
Refrigeration or freezer?
There's 3 different types of cold storage. There's, say, like ambient cold storage, there's refrigeration, and there's freezer. So in a facility of this size, there's probably all 3 types. So kind of come in, depending on the type of pallet, it would be broken down, and it could be flexed, frozen or chilled, so that you have your longer term type storage. There could be mild freezer space where it's kind of in and out, where it kind of comes in, comes right back out. And then there could be refrigeration as well. So like in this area, farms is the other applicants here we saw tonight. So there could be a need locally for just refrigeration, not necessarily for freezers, but there could be cold storage for vegetables and farming type produce.
So you're proposing repack as a portion of the square footage?
Yes, I mean that's in a distribution or in a size of a facility of this size, redistribution or repacking is desired. Again, with the inspectors down in Vineland, you can have that opportunity for them to come out, inspect the pallet, break it down, and then repalletize to go out.
So where do we draw the line with that between like a repack and some sort of processing or manufacturing facility? Like what? I don't even know if you can answer that question, but I don't know if anybody can answer that question. But to the extent that when we're looking at the site and its ability for employees and things of that sort, like what falls under the category of cold storage warehouse And where is it going to, like a manufacturing process facility?
If Corey, you can answer that in terms of employee counts that we went through. No?
In terms of, employee count.
If you can, if
Step
you're
up to the
gonna,
mic, please.
yeah, just so we could get you on the record.
The employee count is going to be based on the buildings
So, in terms of, we don't see this facility going to like a manufacturing facility. I mean, that isn't included in the cold storage distribution. If it does come in and if we palletize it, we're not having a manufacturing line that's dicing the meat inside the facility. Yeah, that's not part of the cold storage area we're targeting.
So that would fall outside of that, that would be more of a processing
That would be
facility,
a
where you
processing facility, yeah.
take a product and change it into something else.
Correct.
With an end use, you're basically just taking it in one package and putting it in either a larger or smaller package.
Exactly. The items come in and depending on the shape or size of the pallet, it'll be broken down, separated out, and then repalletized into same categories of frozen and long-term storage, short-term storage. It's not being processed there, but it's going to be items that can be used.
Counselor?
All right, so, the passing out from architectural and so this was just a example of what a typical
Correct.
building would look like. Certainly, if the board wanted to reproduce that, but you would see what the tenant owner, whoever's going to end user want.
So what would the dimensions be? What would this space length by width?
So the building currently is designed to be 260 by 770, 200,200 square feet. In the loading dock area, it will have a lower roof height just because of energy purposes and storage. As it comes in, you don't need higher clear heights there, nor do you need the heat, cool, whatever it may be for your loading dock area. Then in the main storage area, because it is cold storage and it's a vertically integrated system, it's more economically favorable, more energy efficient to go with a vertical system and have them stacked higher than it is to be more spread out. So that's why we have a two-step roof here along the loading dock area and then the main storage facility. Typically on either end of a facility like this, you have office blocks as well, with big spherical glass and canopies and nice offices.
In the engineering review, you didn't state the overall height of the building, where 60 feet is the maximum height in this LM zone. Do you know the height of the building?
Again, from an energy efficiency standpoint, we try to maximize the height of the building because it would be a vertically integrated system with racking all the way up, and it's cheaper to cool a column of air as it is a sprawling portion of air.
Keep that to 64 level.
Yes, yeah, we want to go over the allowed height of the building. We're not seeking to do that.
Any other
I brought, just because I know that you guys want to see some renderings, I brought what we would anticipate a building like this to look like from an architectural standpoint. It's not necessarily this building, but this is the type of facility that we would look to build. Something, again, architecturally pleasing, looks good, a class A facility. So you guys want to take a look at that, it's up for everybody.
Sure, and that's,
We can mark it as exhibit.
as Exhibit B there to start with, and then, yes, please. Yes,
And Counselor, what are we calling this? Just an example design? Thank you.
Just a, architectural.
We're good. Example architectural design, I'll call it.
rendered it myself.
Okay.
Yeah.
This
This is based off of, the building size, orientation, corner offices. So I it's something that I would personally like to see is.
Come to a bad bridge.
Yeah.
There's a lot of this around there. It seems to be the new trend.
So in your drawing now, you would have well, you don't really show the loading docks, but you would have like a single level.
Exactly,
The
yeah.
loading dock area.
Yeah, single level, and the offices on each corner. That way, it does take go through a tenant. We can have that an office block on the other side.
Plus or minus 60 loading docks.
I think there's 48 docks, but with code and egress, more than likely shrink down because of egress doors typically at every 7 docks in the egress door. So we'll have 7, maybe closer to 42 docks.
Firewall protection as well.
Firewall protection, if it goes to a tenant, then you'll have a firewall protection.
I don't know if we answered the question. So assuming that it's just cold storage, moving stuff in and out and throughout the building, how many employees?
That's storage.
In the cold storage facility, they're not very employee intensive.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I mean, it's really just forklift operators and basically that's what you need.
Exactly. Your office block would, dictate the most amount of employees for admin and checking everything in and out. Typically in a facility like this, a lot of it is going robotic for efficiency again. So you'll have forklift operators, maybe some dock operators, but it's not a very employee-intensive operation.
You said that you don't plan on any processing to be here. What would the water demand be on, since we're well here, on a cold storage facility? Like how much water does one of these facilities typically use?
Not much because it's really just demanded by the bad use of the employees.
So there's no processing involved at all that would involve water?
Not in a cold storage facility.
Okay.
You do have a water tank for 5%.
I saw that, yeah.
Different issue.
Okay, if it's also on attracting someone quickly, when would you anticipate the building of those?
That's very possible. Realistically, from the time of approval to, building completion for a project of this magnitude is 18 to 24 months. Right now we're competing for the electrical equipment from all the data centers and everything else. We're getting in big refrigeration units and cryos and stuff like that. So, long lead items, if we can get them quickly, then I feel like this magnitude would probably be 18 months if everything's going that right. 24,
Typically, or historically, or typically, it would be a one facility, one tenant. It wouldn't be a multi-tenant building, would it? Or would it be a multi-tenant building?
Typically, if it's one big 3PL company, then it would just be one. If it's two individual cruiser companies, then it could be split into two. 200,000 square feet is a lot of pallet space. So if it's not a larger logistics style company, then it would be two individual, like self-owned cruisers.
And you have a question about financing, because that's kind of my thing. So you mentioned private equity. Is this private equity amongst friends, relatives, or a private equity group?
Francesco and I and Brian would put in some of the money, and then we would go source it through the bank equity and then maybe a fourth partner. So enough equity that we need to put down to get the finance.
but not a private equity type seed money type.
No, I don't have any interest in that.
What are the typical hours?
Typical hours are 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. It's a pretty 9 to 5 type facility. Anything before that or after that is extra charges and not fees. So the majority of the cold storage in and out of the building for this hour.
So 90% of truck traffic will have to go on the business day?
Correct.
I noticed there's no rear entrance onto the main road frontage. So all truck traffic will enter and exit from Route 40.
Correct. Yeah, that was one of the original items we discussed with the reviewing engineers, that we would provide a fire lane access for emergency services, but we don't want any truck traffic, any regular traffic, anything going on the main road. We want to stay on the highway. So that's what we do with that.
Council, you want to bring your engineer up? Step up to the microphone so we can hear you.
Number of employees, we'll be looking at a max of about 6 to 8 max on site and shift out. And that's not including truck drivers, it's just general employees. And that's the number of spaces. Yeah, so we're up, that's the most we can handle, so we're in the range of 40 to 68 employees. In line with what's been done at other sites we've done.
I would imagine that probably reflects from the shift standpoint. And then you get the concrete.
We can move on to the gas or Paul to answer back if there's any questions.
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Step up to the microphone, please.
I'd like to move on to Mr. Gaskell, the engineer, if there's any questions for Mr. Anthony.
We'll bring him back up. Yep, exactly.
All right. This project consists of a cold store facility with associated parking, loading docks, landscaping, stormwater management measures, constructed on block 7203, lot 9. It has frontages on Route 40 and Main Road. Route 40 frontage is about approximately 790 feet west of its intersection with Main Road, and the Main Road frontage is approximately 1456 from the intersection of Route 40. Site's located, as I said, in the light manufacturing district, and is currently undeveloped and is primarily developed with a couple. Site range north to south. From Main Road to depression near Route 40, which contains an 18-inch culvert that connects under Route 40 and direct runoff off-site. There is a small area in the westerly corner of the view that drains westerly off-site. The proposed improvements consist of the 200,200 square foot cold storage facility, along with a 280-foot storage shack near the entrance to the rear with the loading docks. There's currently 46 loading docks and 2 access ramps where you can back a truck that way. We also have a storage area in the rear of the site that will handle up to 10 cars for storage or while they're waiting to get to the dock. 58 parking stalls are provided from the front of the building to the internal staff. As stated before, we're going to have a full access driveway off of Route 40. There will however be an emergency access fire lane coming off the Main Road. That will be gated with a knockbox and it's only intended for emergency access. There's also going to be an emergency fire lane along the western side of the building. The site is serviced by private well and septic. We're also proposing a water tower on site to provide additional storage for necessary water volume needed for the facility operations. Things for storage will use a little bit of water, and as well as to have water volume for fire protection. There's a fire hydrants located at the rear corner of the building, as well as at the front easterly corner, the southeast corner of the building. There's going to be a wall-mounted fire hydrant, as well as a wall-mounted fire truck connection, so they can hook the pumper truck up and further assist with the sprinkler system if needed in the event of calamity. Gas and electric service will be connected from existing lines off of Main Road. The design itself, we utilize 9 stormwater basins. There's lots, but these just expanding. So there's 7 above ground basins and 2 underground basins, which manage the stormwater runoff. There's site lighting around all the drive aisles and parking lots, and landscaping provided around the perimeter of the site, as well as around the parking facilities. We did conduct during the initial survey of the site, we did conduct a pre-survey representative of the property, and we will comply with any and all community related proposed design is intended to comply with the zoning standards, the stormwater ordinances, and the site design ordinances. There's no variances required, and only a few design waivers are requested. Before I get the design waivers, I'll just go on and say that we did receive a very comprehensive review letter from CME, which we revised our plans in order to conform with their comments, and we submitted on January 2nd the revised plan. And if Wayne has any further comments, there's more room to work with him to satisfactory. We also received a review letter from the county planning board, which is incorporated in our plan, and we're just waiting for the letter from them. We corresponded with the fire marshal, and have incorporated their comments into our plan. We also have a planning process going on with NJDOT. We have their review letter, and are in the process of discussing the policy with primarily additional information and some further out with the line thread around the occurrence. Now, the site design your design for sidewalk. Looking for the design for sidewalk along the main road. Currently, we are providing sidewalk along the Route 40 entrance to the front. So we're looking to the waiver to not provide sidewalk along the road frontage. There's no existing sidewalk out there, and we're not really doing that as frontage for the property access. There's also a design waiver being requested for the basic fencing to have a 3-foot tall post and rail versus 6-foot chain fence. Now, the 3-foot post and rail is pretty much the industry standard for the basic fencing. Provided with a wire mesh backing, and it just provides a break so that you just don't wander into the basement. In terms of 3-foot fence or 6-foot fence, if someone wants to get in there, they want to get in. So it's really an aesthetic thing as opposed to there is an additional design waiver sought for the facing fencing along the westerly and northerly property line, where 5 foot is provided and 15 foot is required. Now, if the 5 foot isn't, to the board's liking, we can always, in these areas, replace it with a perimeter fence. But the perimeter fence is the 6-foot chain link up against the property line, which I believe is permissible. And then the last design waiver talks about 10% landscaping being required on the parking lot. I believe in our latest revisions, we have beefed up the landscaping enough that this one might fall aside, but that's where we're going.
You said you are proposing sidewalk along Route 40?
Correct.
Why is that?
There's an existing sidewalk, not necessarily adjacent, but a little bit further up the road. And I believe there's one of the comments, but they wanted everything.
That's the big street, radar, plus sidewalk on premises. It's very residential waivers for sidewalk and PPMs and pedestrian traffic. It's not sidewalk limits.
Mr. Patrick, as a board, do we have the right to override that?
Not on the state highway.
No.
So that you can just urbanize our town and put sidewalks every time there's a business built?
As long as, if the state requires it. The state can waive it, we can't, because it's on the highway.
Yeah, it's in there right away.
Yeah.
Outside the jurisdiction.
Well, that's why typically somewhere way down the line on this application, it's going to be stated that they need to meet DOT requirements. And if DOT is, now, we certainly can ask DOT to waive it, but we don't have the right to waive it. It has to be done by DOT. I'm going to ask the board members that were here. I was absent on the Dollar General store. There was a lot of conversation about sidewalks towards Main Road School, and one was to not provide it at all and to limit access from the school onto coming up to the Dollar store, where they're asking for a waiver on Main Road. Does anybody remember what happened on the Main Road sidewalks?
Yeah, I don't believe there's sidewalks on the.
We granted the waiver.
Granted the waiver? Okay. Well, what I'm getting to is that if we required the Dollar store to put sidewalks in, because there was a lot of discussion about allowing it to happen or discouraging it from happening by bumpers and those sidewalks. I'm trying to make the two pieces fit together. And I wasn't here for that meeting.
And Joe, I think there are sidewalks on the 40 side.
40 side, but what about the Main Road side? Okay, all right. Yeah, I didn't want to have one way and one the other, as well.
So tonight's application is consistent with that plan.
With that plan, that's the question.
Yeah, I think, I don't remember, but I think the rationale was we didn't want to encourage pedestrian traffic from the school.
Exactly.
I.e. children walking across the main road down to gas.
That was my understanding, but I wasn't here on the final, so.
Since we're talking about that, with the school being so close, I'll just touch on this one issue that you mentioned about there's a defense around the basin. Since it is closer to the school, I would like to see something tall, but I don't want a 6-foot chain. If you're doing a 3-foot split rail, that tells me it's 2 rails. If you get a 3 rail, that takes it up to maybe 4 foot, maybe 5 foot. I'd like to see something like that. Because I just don't want these kids coming across and just wandering and make it a little tougher for them to get through something.
Yeah, what about fencing that entire side, like that whole access side?
We did not have the word fence at the moment.
Okay.
If you're amenable to it, then you can also have to say.
Yeah, I think it would depend on the end user and their desire for security, but the other thing is the aesthetics of it. So, I think we'd be open to discuss that topic.
My part concern is the school across the street and discouraging people from getting over there, so, kids from getting over there.
If we did go, if we did start providing, if in the eventuality they had providing that over the fence around the entire perimeter, then we'd be looking not to do internal basement.
And that was my next thought, is that, if your tenant, for security purposes, wants to fence the entire project, then the retention pond becomes irrelevant. I'm assuming that guard is a 24/7 guard, would typically be a 24/7 and it's fenced in, so that becomes a lot less of an issue. But again, without an applicant, without a tenant, we don't know what that's going to look like. Our objective here, the main objective here, so when you go back and look at this, is the safety of the kids across the street and somebody getting in there and somebody getting hurt. So that's, that in the previous application, that we spent a lot of time on that, and I think that's what we're touching on here as well.
Yeah, I mean, we're okay with fencing the property in, from the safety standpoint. Typically, from the aesthetic standpoint, not everybody likes to build chain link fences, so we try to buffer it with landscaping, trees, make it harder to enter the site through natural means.
Right.
But the board, from a safety standpoint, I agree with the school across, we'd be okay with putting the fence out.
And we can discuss that later, especially on the main roads. If they're not concerned about security and don't want to fence the whole thing in, that's on the tenant at that point in time. I think where we're concerned at is the area on Main Road and addressing access from some of the kids getting across the street type of thing. Especially being there's a dollar store on the corner there, and I don't need the phone call.
Neither do we, so we're okay with that.
Okay. Anybody else? Corey, do you have anything else?
That's everything I have.
Is the fire pump in in with the tank, or is it inside the building in the sprinkler room? But we really don't know because you don't have a building.
Well, typically the fire pump would be located inside the building in the sprinkler room. It depends on the water tank itself, if it's truly gravity fed or if they use a booster pump to meet the sprinkler demand. It may have a pump located right next to the well booster.
Yeah, I can't speak to the internal of the water design. That's not my.
But it's my expertise. That's why I'm asking.
But in general, he is correct. They're moving out the pump house in the building.
Okay. All right. That's way down the road.
For the stormwater, correct. We addressed all the comments in the CME letter, and that's what we covered in our response letter in January 2nd.
Well, I'm going to go to Wayne in a moment. I just want to make sure your initial testimony is complete, and then we'll go to Wayne. Right before we do that, Brandon, again, all the documents, notifications are in order?
All the notifications are in order. Everything that I reviewed was all set. Of course, there's still the lingering issue regarding the final and preliminary.
Okay.
That would cover all the stormwater works, we have to send them for runoff to be released, but it does have to be street construction, the roof runoff. Yeah, little thing, roof washing, but one of those technically. So we did bring that up. Our growth is going direct to the underground system, and we don't know if the downspouts are going to be internal to the building walls or external. If they're external, we can do a re-screen right before it goes in the ground. If it's internal, then any sort of re-screening would have to be on the roof.
Okay. Counselor, you have a planner here. Does the planner have any testimony to give before I go to our engineer's report?
Just for traffic engineering.
Who's traffic?
Right. So a few questions from him for
Anybody have questions on this application? You got away easy.
All right.
You're still on the clock, but you got away easy.
The one issue that was raised is whether or not the counts were done before school went into session, and they were in fact done before school was out of session. That's the question, and there's any discrepancy in the report. That was all
Well, and just, like, we spoke to, we did the count 12 schools in session on Tuesday, June 3rd, 6 to 9, and 2 to 6, 6 to 9 in the morning, 2 to 6 in the afternoon, we talked to school piece. And then we did have a typo in our analysis that we only agreed for discrepancy. We ran the numbers again and made no changes in our analysis.
Okay.
And just to touch on DOT, as Mr. Gaskell said, we are applying for a minor driveway permit. We are indeed completing on our first round of reviews, and they're fairly minor on
Are you going to apply for a waiver for the sidewalks on 40th through the DOT or no?
Their first round of comments were to include sidewalk.
Okay.
So we added them per DOT request.
Okay.
How much deference does the DOT get to the local municipality in a situation like that? If we
Don't want sidewalks.
It's really up to their discretion. I mean, they typically, in my experience with DOT, if they want to have sidewalk along 140, they don't have to develop that's got that frontage to do it for them when they have a chance to do it.
Have you ever had a situation where?
Yes, but it's usually in an area where there's no sidewalk within 5 miles of the site, along 40.
So if I hear you correctly in this case, it's not like this DOT would.
I would not anticipate DOT relenting. It's possible to request and see what they say, but I would anticipate no requirements for sidewalk.
Especially if it's next door.
Yeah, especially if it's sidewalk right next door.
And we just built about a mile or two towards Malaga.
Since they required it for Dollar General, I would anticipate it's required for websites. All right, Wayne, you're up.
All right.
First off, what CME report did you use January 2nd, so we'll follow your comments here.
So the report that I have is from December 17th and the Fraileger's response letter of January 2nd.
January 2nd, got it.
So as Mr. Gaskell stated, there was an initial review done by CME. They provided revised, I'm not sure if that's me or something else. Oh, up there. It's off. It's off. That was off. Okay. All right. Uh-oh.
Yes.
So we good? No? Uh-oh. Get reverb somewhere. All right, so again, December 17th, 2025 letter from CME, January 2nd, 2026 response letter from Frailinger. There was a revision made and submitted prior to the meeting, so the plans that you have in front of you should contain the revised drawings where they've incorporated some of the comments made by CME. I'm going to go through the letter. I'm going to try and, as best as I can, cherry pick and highlight, the some important line items and other things that I presume that they would agree to address should they get approval tonight. In regards to, I'll start out with the waivers, regards to sidewalks, as we heard testimony for that, and as far as what's going to be required in the DOT right-of-way, we're kind of limited in that regard as far as, but appropriate for the main road sidewalk waiver. Again, the fencing, again, talked to at length, so I guess the understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that ultimately they'll provide either 4-foot high fencing around the basins, or should a perimeter fence go in, that would be in lieu of the basin fencing. So it'll be one or the other. Certainly something we can hash out as part of compliance or moving forward towards a final application, should hopefully some decisions be made as far as end user, tenant, what the ultimate game plan is. So that is something I believe that can be ironed out later, but one way or the other, it'll be perimeter fence or basin fencing at 4 foot. Again, I would agree with Mr. Gaskell. It would follow suit with the industry standard. The one question I have is in regards to the mesh to be provided. Are we looking at like a chicken wire or Okay, and then what kind of opening size in that? You know, we like a standard 2-inch, 1.5 inch?
Maybe more along the line of 2 inch, but I have to check.
Yeah, I mean, 2 inches is the typical salvage for a chain link fence, that's why I say that. In some cases, I've seen it both ways. One with something a little more pleasing than I would say chicken wire. I've seen that, and it drives me up the wall when I see it, but and again, the whole intent is to keep some kids out, but like, as Mr. Gass was saying, if someone wants to get in, they'll get in, but this will deter, you know, your little kid, which I don't think is going to be hopefully too much of a concern. I know you have the school, but on the off chance, you know, one way or the other, you know, the intent is to keep them out. So if we're looking at 2-inch salvage versus 1.5 inch, I mean, the 2-inch, I would be agreeable because it's typical of that of chain link fence. And as far as the parking lot landscaping, I do believe that you did get pretty close. If not, you hit it in terms of the 10% landscaping in there. I know there's some changes made in terms of in the interior lot. So we can take a look at that. On the off chance that they need a waiver, I mean, I guess the agreement would be is that they get as close to 10% if they don't hit the 10% on the mark. So that covers it for waivers. And then while it's in my mind, going back to, in regards to the architecturals. So a couple of questions I have are in regards to, well, the biggest one for me is HVAC systems. Are they going to be roof mounted, behind the building? So where would, you know, and what would be even required for this type of facility? Is it something that can be on the roof and hidden? Is it going to be under the 60-foot threshold? Or is it that the building's going to go up to 60 feet and you can still conceivably see HVAC equipment on above that if it's roof mounted? Or is it, you know, like a 55-foot high building with, you know, a 5-foot parapet hiding the HVAC? That's kind of what I'm trying to figure out, like, what does that look like ultimately?
How does rooftop solar play into that?
Rooftop solar is actually mandated by the state, because you have to provide the ability for rooftop solar for all facilities of this size and type. From an HVAC standpoint, we look to the board for you guys of what we would be allowed to do, whether you could go to the 55-60-foot mark and put them on the roof with screening, or we would have to keep the building shorter, or place them maybe on a lower loading dock roof. We do have a lower loading dock roof that would allow folks to kind of bolt them down there, although it's not the most energy efficient way of doing things for this type of facility. That would be an alternative option to provide them on a lower roof. Due to site constraints and all the stormwater basement we had to provide, we don't really have an option to put them outside of the building footprint. So they would be located somewhere within the building or over the building.
So, yeah, that's something that I didn't get a chance to find the answer I was looking for in the code. As far as, so when you have that 60-foot height, is the HVAC equipment part of that 60-foot? And I don't know what past practice has been, so it's kind of a question for you guys if you happen to know. Is it, because I mean, typically I've seen it where, like you said, well, it could go one of two ways, as I described. It could be building goes to 60 foot, HVAC's on top, and then the potential of screening that so you don't see it, or it's a 55-foot high building, and then in that 5 feet or whatever that threshold is to put in the HVAC so you can shield it and have a parapet come up to the 60 foot. So I'd have to kind of explore more in terms of what is the building definition or the building height, you know, what governs, I guess, is what I'm trying to figure out.
So I think that the code says not to exceed 60 feet. So
yeah, and I would think that would include, you know, a parapet wall for screening HVAC. I don't know if there's any provision to allow that to go higher. So I guess, I mean, is it, so I guess the understanding is that your building height will be no more than 60 feet, but you'll have to figure out or massage something to shield and have your HVAC equipment in there and keep it under the 60-foot threshold.
Or have it on the,
or if you put it on the lower, whatever it works out to be, and I presume you'd want to shield that as well.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, if we could look out some sort of site distance to go to mean roof height, obviously, again, from an energy standpoint, it's more efficient to go vertically integrated. So
yep.
we look to optimize that from a design standpoint.
Then the big question is, you know, how high does that go in terms of building height with HVAC?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, to your point though, on the site visit, it's like, you know, if the building is 50 feet, set the HVAC equipment in the center of the building, and exceeded 50 feet, you still wouldn't be able to see it. So it's really, you know, efficient to require a sort of building to accommodate HVAC equipment. I think we need to look into that more.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess we have time, I guess, if you will. Yeah, it's out of the ordinary. So.
I mean, here's the curveball. I'm going to give Corey the opportunity to think about this. The proximity to the airport. When we did Meredith Farms, there was height restrictions, and then height restriction as you got further out increased. Where are we at with the FAA and the airport and height restrictions at this point out from the airport?
Well, I can speak to this because I worked on Meredith Farms, John. And
I can remember.
Yeah. Now, the reason there is that airport, it had an overlay area for the flight patterns. This site is well outside of that overlay area.
Yeah, I remember that it was this high, and then this high, and then this high, and realizing it's a distance away from the airport, did we fall into those restrictions is really my concern.
Yes, sir, that was.
Yeah, you can't. Wait a minute, let's go back to you.
Yep, no problem. So I guess, and I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to see the thing, but I got a quick glimpse of the I'll call it the sample look as far as the rendering you produced. Yeah, safe to say that neutral colors in terms of, again, stucco siding or concrete. What are we looking at in terms of?
Mostly insulated precast panels.
Okay.
So those precast from South Jersey.
Gotcha.
That,
yep.
Maybe we could turn to.
So some of a white, off-white color.
Correct.
Okay. And then gray tones. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Just want to make sure we're not getting a purple building and, And again, there's no, but I presume for your office space, you'll have more window space and everything else, as I see on the corner here, as far as a sample, if you will, potential for that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More than likely a two-story office within the building.
Okay.
Glass,
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So that covers for that. Although at some point we will want to see, or the board's going to want to see what is the ultimate product. So it's one of those things that I try to shy away from working out in a compliance situation because, I wouldn't be consulting the full board during compliance, if you will, should you get an approval. So moving forward, if, my understanding is a preliminary tonight and final, that I would shoot to have a close to final product, and it's just a matter of maybe shifting some things around depending on your end user. So I'd recommend that you nail down colors, try to come up with an idea as far as, potential office space areas and so forth, and kind of present something to the board so they can say, all right, this is what we're going to see, and then should you get approval, it just might be a slight variation depending on if you have a change or a potential difference in tenant. Okay. So I think I covered that for zoning and the architectural requirement. So there is a thing in regards to parking calculations. So per the ordinance requirements, only 41 stalls are required. They're proposing 68. So with that provision, they're not exceeding the impervious coverage requirements. It's not unheard of for somebody to say, hey, we'd like to have more spaces. So as they attested to earlier, they're anticipating anywhere of employee count from say 40 to upwards of 68. So 68 seems to be that ceiling. Again, if the board has any questions, comments, concerns about that, I don't have any objection to that. There is a requirement for providing EV-ready parking stalls. I did have a question, and again, on I'll call it a future revision. Corey, if you wouldn't mind, can you actually, on the plan with your EV stalls, kind of show where you're going to have items such as the, call it the transformer, disconnects, if there's going to be a generator. Typically, try to have some grass area or something dedicated to that type of equipment.
EV stalls currently located here and here next to this adjacent island. That allows us to put, we can put all the conduit wiring in and get a quick charger.
Yeah.
Do a straight charger right there on the edge of the island.
Yeah, if you could just carve out a spot in there, so kind of make it like a no-fly zone for landscaping.
Gotcha.
This way it'll save from having to tear out the landscaping later. Say this will be designated for all the EV equipment. Let's see, moving on. In regards to, I'm going to hop into planning comments. Again, just going to hit the highlights. Let's see, there's the one thing. In regards to landscaping in terms of buffering around the entire perimeter. So I know some changes were made. CME had commented they wanted to see some enhancement to the landscaping, as well as also introducing deer-resistant species and so forth. Frainger did accommodate that. One thing I would ask is for an actual calculation. So the ordinance requires that 20% of your land space, if you will, should be landscaped. So I didn't see that anywhere in the plans as far as an actual number. I'm sure you hit it, but show whether you hit it at 20%, 22%, whatever the case may be, if you can add that.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is there a list of the landscaping materials?
Yes, so on the actual landscape plan, there's a list of the species. It's a mix of, I think, a couple of deciduous. I don't remember the species off the top of my head.
Page 4. Page 4 of 12, CME report on the Frainger, okay.
Yeah, but the actual list you're looking for is on the actual plan. So there's a landscaping plan. It does have a schedule as far as what species they're proposing.
Yeah, all right,
Yep.
so one of the comments about, I guess it was Frainger, suggested a substitution for some plants. Letter N on page 6 of CME's letter, they have number 3, create no non-prohibition of site location. I don't agree with that. I think that's a great selection, a great choice of tree for that site. And to be specific, a great myrtle matches, which is extremely hardy and would be beautiful in the middle, all summer long actually, from May through September. So I would ask Pat to put that on the list.
I have no objection. That was what we had here from that evolution.
I mean, I don't know why that they can say that's not appropriate.
No, I've used that on multiple sites combined
So it's natural.
Yeah. So I would have no objection to it. I can't speak for CME as to why, but certainly no objection to the reintroduction of it.
It's very cold hardy. It's a nice white color, and it's a nice tree.
Okay. So Corey, no objection. You'll put some back in there.
There's no objection. You can provide. I think it was the number of doors. It was like Class A, B, or C. But we can add that as one of the available varieties for that family.
Alright, let's see here. Distances were good. Let's see. That was added. Oh, so as a follow-up point with the, obviously 20% for the overall, but if you can also provide a calculation for that 10%. So show where we're actually at with it. I'm sure you're pretty close, but if you could actually come up with a number for that. And that'll clear up whether that waiver is needed or not. It's, everything else in plan. I'm sorry, just bear with me a second here. There's a lot to go through. Let's see. Oh, minor thing in terms of the your mulch beds. Any objection to adding edge control?
No.
Okay.
The detail is just noted.
I mean both. I would just show whether it's going to be metal or plastic. I mean no objection to either, unless the board has a preference. So again, just to maintain that separation between grass and mulch, typically you want to have an edge material, be it like Home Depot or Lowe's has it for the plastic, where they can use the metal, one or the other.
Obviously, as the architect, so I can't tell, but the no mulch around the building itself, that's going to flag the construction.
Yeah. So yeah, just be mindful in terms of your proximity to, I forget the threshold, but yeah, there was a building code change that they deem it a fire hazard with a combustible material. So it's a relatively new thing. I've encountered it quite a bit. Let's see. So there's that. Let's see what else stood out. Just a minor thing for the lighting plan. So would you, any objection, or can you provide Isolux contours showing that half-foot candle and 1-foot candle. I think it's gridded, but if you can also show the contours and actually have one. Oh, so there are both on there now?
Yes.
Okay, let me take a look again. Because I think there's individual isolexes, but not a blended, if you will. So, I mean, depending on what you're using for lighting, or if you're using a consultant for the lighting, like I know if I used to do it myself, and I use like halophane or whatever, they'll actually give you both a grid and they'll give you a blended isolex. So you have the individual for each light, but where you have overlap, you'd have that blending, if you will, to some extent.
They didn't give us the blended isolate patterns, they gave us the grid, and then they gave us the
Individual. See if you can get the blended. That would kind of help clear up that. I think everything in terms of light coverage should be good, but the blended would probably put everything to rest in terms of no question. If you can provide that. Let's see, I think that's all I have under planning. And obviously, well, for the most part, I think you did comply. We'll go through compliance, but you take no exception to any other planning comments outside of what we talked about. So I'm just gonna kind of double check when I go through, should you get approval as far as compliance is concerned. I'm just gonna, run through the gamut and make sure everything's there. I believe mostly everything's there. I just, like I said, I hit the highlights and some things I'd like to see. But is there anything you take exception to, or I think in your response letter you pretty much covered it, and then testimony was provided for different things.
I don't see anything that stands out.
Okay.
Yeah, everything was in my,
in your response. Okay. All right, so I'm going to move on to engineering comments, which starts on page 7 of CME's letter. So, let's see what we got here. Covered the EV equipment. Let's see. I had a note here, this is probably something we could talk about offline, but in the area of your guard building, are you going to have any depressed curb for access to, in proximity to the guard building?
I don't believe there's any depressed curb about the guard building.
Okay, so none there. All right. Excuse me. Okay.
If there is a change where they want to put a little sidewalk next to, I've seen it where they want to put a little sidewalk next to the building and allow handicap access for, that'll have to come back as amended.
Okay, yeah, I do minor things, but yeah, okay. Gotcha, okay. All right, so we'll jump into some stormwater stuff. So I know there's a couple things noted in regards to, without belaboring some of the technical stuff, but there are a couple things I want to point out that were not exactly pointed out in CME's letter in regards to the pipe calculations. So common, or a minimum TC of 10 minutes was used. I think there was a reference to the roadway design manual. The stormwater regs, as you know, they've changed. You have to actually show actual calculated time of concentration, or in the absence of, they do allow you to use the nomograph, but you can't use a 10-minute minimum anymore. So you have two options: to either calculate the TCs or use the nomograph from, I can't remember if that's out of the National Engineering Handbook, or do you know what nomograph I'm referring to?
I know, yeah,
okay.
I'm familiar with it.
So, still acceptable for the regs, just you can't use a minimum of 10 minutes or 6 minutes. That's something that they've changed, and the state's gotten kind of funny about it.
Yeah, for all our routing paths,
yeah, you use calculated TCs, but for pipe calcs, it's still a technicality. You have to no more minimums. It's either the nomograph or actually calculated. I use the nomograph myself. Whichever like I said, you have those options. You just can't use a minimum. Yep. And then also, yeah, it'll be minor. And then one thing, I know they made a comment in regards to your 0.25% slope as opposed to 0.3% slope. Biggest thing for me, and it's actually in the ordinance, and which some ordinances don't cover this, but this one does. In regards to flowing a quarter full, that should have at least 2.5 feet per second. So when you use Mannings, it's a manipulation of Mannings. It's actually in the ordinance. I have the section written down somewhere. So it's in their development standards. If you actually utilize, let's see, actually I can find the citation right here. So it's under 253-50, I want to say it's A6. Let me double check this real quick. Either way, it's in there. Let me see. Let me just get it for you. So, of course, I wrote it out earlier. So, where the heck did it start? So it's under 253-50A. I believe it was A6, subset A, subset 2, and B, about that minimum slope, or the minimum velocity. So if you hit that velocity, whatever it works out to be for the slope, so whether it's 0.25%, 0.3, or whatever, as long as you're hitting that for the quarter flowing full, we can talk about it more offline. As long as you meet that criteria, you should be fine. So I'm not sure where CME came up with a 0.3 minimum. I know you had asked, or you had mentioned using 0.35. I don't know. And then the other thing is the double check and your Manning's end value. So you had 0.009 in your calcs. Industry standard for smooth wall interior HDP is typically 0.012. So that will make some minor changes for you, but again, those are things you should take a look at. So unless you're using a manufacturer that allows you to go 0.009, it is the, I'm going to say it's the opposite of conservative. So.
After top of my head, I want to say
okay. Yeah. If it is, then just give me their design recommendation for that value. Because when I saw that one kind of raised a little bit of a flag. But if ADS is going to certify that, then so be it. Let's see here. Regards to, trying to think what else stood out. In regards to, so another concern is, and I think you have the basin volume to do it. So I know you have 9 basins on site. The issue that I have, and I think CME picked up on it, made a comment in regards to how much water you're perking into the ground. So per the stormwater rules, you can infiltrate the water quality storm as well as the annual groundwater recharge deficit. You're actually perking in more and twice as much as the groundwater recharge. And the only way you're allowed to do that is if there's a mandate, be it from DEP or Pinelands or where I've encountered it, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, says you have to do more. But if they don't tell you you have to do more, and you either have to demonstrate that the site's doing it now, which you do show one depression, but it's only for like 8,000 cubic feet, and I think you're exceeding by like 100,000 cubic feet. So again, minor, it shouldn't have too much impact on your rate release. So you're gonna have to go back and revisit that and show either where you're holding it to justify the extra or reduce the extra. You and I can talk about more offline as well. But as long as you know that there will be a change required one way or the other, or justification for what you're doing. All right. So just want to highlight that. And let's see. Trying to think if there's anything else in here that I didn't cover on the engineering side. As far as stormwater is concerned, I think that covers it for stormwater. And in regards to traffic,
number 25, those are some kind of hydrants. I believe somebody earlier testified that there was 2 hydrants at the rear of the building.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, in accordance with what the farmer marshal wanted, he wanted 2 hydrants at the rear of the building, and we're providing one over here. It's not shown on the plan exactly over here.
Well, I think it usually played outside the collapse zone. When you say rear of the building, I'm thinking rear of the building. Those hydrants are out away from the building, at least further than the collapse zone of the building.
This one here is located over towards the side of the parking lot. This one here, currently is located about halfway back, but we can move it further.
Well, as long as you're outside the, and that can be coordinated, again, offline with the fire marshal's office. When you say rear of the building, I'm thinking up on the sidewalk at the rear of the building, and knowing that it needs to be at least outside the collapse zone of the building.
Gotcha. And the front ones, like I said before, are building mounted.
Yeah, that's your fire department connection. That's
Your Siamese connection. Yeah.
sorry.
Yep, no problem. Let's see. So I think I was going to jump into traffic, but again,
No,
as you
don't
heard,
jump into traffic. We need you to finish this application.
so as was discussed by Mr. Shropshire, that they are applying for a minor access permit. The one thing I kind of wanted to talk about a little bit, and kind of, I guess, related to Jason's question as far as the possibility of a different use, and if it doesn't go the cold storage route, that if this were to go warehousing and distribution of a slight variant use, but an allowable use, where would you stand from a traffic perspective in terms of intensity of cold storage versus, say, your typical warehouse? Like if this goes, not to say that it will, but if it goes something along the lines of like a Wayfair, Amazon type use versus cold storage facility.
So in our traffic study, we actually did the trip generation based off the warehouse, and there is a trip generation land use for cold storage, which is about 20 to 30% lower.
Less
than
intensive.
warehouse.
Okay.
So we did a more conservative estimate on it.
With the warehousing. Okay. Just want to highlight that.
DOT expected to get permitted for that.
In case there's a change. So.
We already analyzed, our
Yeah.
analysis, we did the conservative analysis of a warehouse, not a cold storage warehouse, which is a
Yeah.
higher trip generation than a cold storage.
So they were being overly conservative. So again, I think to kind of what you were kind of questioning in terms of what happens if this doesn't go cold storage, if it goes warehouse, where does that? They're set up for that as well.
We already analyzed that scenario, and it works.
All right, thank you. Let's see. So outside of that. Let's see. Yeah, so for everything else, Fralinger did have a response, and it's, and I'm sure Mr. Guest would agree, it's the intent to comply with every other, all the other comments made by CME. Again, any exceptions on engineering comments that you don't want to comply with for good reason? Or?
There, we have no exceptions other than design reviews.
Okay. So that covers it in a nutshell. If I glossed over anything, or if there's any specific question you guys have, by all means.
Yeah, I have a question. The,
Sure.
5-foot variance that they're asking for fencing.
Yep.
What property does that abut?
So it abuts, on the one side, you have the mobile dredge video pipe facility. So if you're looking at that, I'll say plan left. And then plan right, I believe, is a farm field over there, Corey?
There's a farm field over here, but
Yeah.
where it is it would be up here on the north side, where the 5-foot is also
Okay.
it's adjacent to that existing commercial building. I can't remember what's in there right now. I know they have traffic.
Okay, I know where you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
That would be eliminated.
Correct.
Correct.
Yeah, I believe the agreement was to provide 4 foot in lieu of 3 foot. So 6 foot's required. They were asking for 3 foot, and I think the compromise was 4 foot.
Well, whatever,
To round the base.
Whatever a 3 rail height is, you can make it 4, whatever 3 rail.
Okay.
We have to go up to 48 inches, we'll go up to 48 inches.
So if it's 4 foot, 5 foot, that's agreeable still. Okay. So as long as you have a 3 rail fence. Okay. Did that answer your question, Mark?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Before we go to public, does the board have any questions or any comments? Any
Question for you.
Sure.
This is a preliminary hearing.
Correct.
Is there any way to vote based on
only for home storage? In other words,
We're gonna go to the solicitor for that, because my thought is, when we had the discussion about the architectural, what the building looked like, now it's been discovered that there's not a building per se. So the application would be to use this property for a cold storage facility, and then turn around and bring them back to look at the building at a different hearing when there's a tenant. So there'll be we might as well get, you want to
No,
touch on that now?
you're on a roll. That's exactly that.
You know, I think I'm not sure, that's a legal question. Can we force them to be a cold storage facility, and when they change their mind and say half of this building's gonna be used for this instead? That's a legal question, and I don't know. They may have to go back to zoning at that point, because you're changing the use at that point in time.
You'd be changing the use.
So, right now, we're looking at it as cold storage. I want to make half this building a paper factory, so now you have a use change that kicks in. So that's the answer to the one question. Then the other one, where we had issues that I have an architectural, now we understand that there's no architectural because there's no building.
Correct.
We would be approving or denying the application on face value, and when there's a building, there would be a second hearing on what that building would look like.
For the final application, for final site plan,
Yeah,
correct.
for that final site plan for
That's
the
correct.
building itself. Gives the applicant the opportunity to market it, it gets a tenant, they get a drawing of the building at that point in time, they bring the architecturals back in. Now we're looking at what the cosmetics of the outside of the building looks
That's
like.
correct.
We're looking at the height, with or without the mechanical height of the
And
building.
of course,
all that type of
the
stuff.
other opportunity would be all the questions that lengthy testimony that our board engineer just gave can all be answered and be brought back before the board, so that we have a better understanding as to what's going on.
All right.
So is that where we're at right now?
Yeah, I believe that, and I'm going to turn to their counsel, I believe that's where we're at this point in time.
I will say, Mr. Chairman, obviously the applicant submitted all their materials to us and was looking for preliminary and final. If it's their intent to move forward with preliminary and final, it now comes to the board whether we're voting on that. That's what we're voting on. However, if the applicant decides to bifurcate it, based off of everything that the board has placed on the record, and we are here for preliminary site approval only, and we'll come back for final.
I'm going to let the two attorneys determine on that final verbiage, but, my thought is that there's going to be another hearing when there is a tenant, or what this is going to look like on the site.
And I don't know if you guys want to, I know that was a lot coming onto the record, if you want to have a discussion regarding that. If the board, if we want to take a 5-minute, 2-minute recess so they can discuss and then come back.
Absolutely. John?
I just have a question for the applicant. Well, in the building process, at what point does the building officially become and deemed cold storage, right? Because you have to set up some cryo and some things that obviously are going in the way of refrigeration. But do you build the warehouse first and then you move that kind of stuff into the walls, or is it built with the intent of cold storage integrated along the way?
It's built, the structure is built with the intent, because your sidewall grade is going to be thicker, there's going to be anti-frost piping in the floor, your wall panels are going to be 15 inches thick as opposed to 8 inches thick, and the whole building is built with that in mind.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to say, I think the rendering that you gave us is very correct.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, give your comment.
To AI.
Yeah, I signed up for the subscription last night.
There you go.
I have all the regular design software,
You
but
got
I
it
don't
wrong,
have
you got it
the
pretty
rendering. I'm on the structural side.
Brandon, to your suggestion for a couple-minute break until now, my thought is, why don't we do the public portion, get that piece into it, and after the public portion, at that time, we'll take a couple-minute recess, let them talk to the client, and how do we take this preliminary and final tonight, and what the building looks like? And again, are we coming back, is that the board's understanding? Is that the site, it's site approval, and we would expect them to come back with an application, a different application in the future, or how does the attorneys want to work that question out?
That's correct, and we could discuss that off the record
Okay,
when
all
after
right,
public
this
comment.
time,
Second.
and we'll second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, at this time, we're open to the public on this application. Is there any comment?
Good evening, everybody. Dave Marshall, 67 New Road.
Just a second, if you could just raise your right hand. Do you swear to the truth of the testimony that you're about to provide?
Yes.
And then if you could just state your name and your address.
Dave Marshall, 67 New Road, Malaga. I have a question about the conveyances of preliminary. The notifications have to be sent out to surrounding residents?
I verified that already, correct?
Correct.
Well, without the lights, no one can barely hear it, so I want to ask you.
Yes, correct.
200-foot notifications were sent out.
Okay, now, a lot of municipalities, because there's a school involved, elementary school, usually notifications have to be 1,500 because of ammonia being involved in cold storage. I don't know what our township has in place of that, but the student, teacher population and the students should have been notified, so anybody that's going to be there during this time period should have been told so they couldn't come out. And I want to know if we were protected for that.
I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not aware of that.
I'm not aware.
Well, that's why I'm asking, because I don't know what's in place for ours.
I'd imagine that the school would have had to have been notified. I could double check the
That's how,
notification.
because of the schools, that usually changes the way the notifications work, especially with the moon.
I don't think our ordinance requires any additional notice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's why I'm asking.
I'm unaware.
I just wondered about the state statute.
I'm not sure, that's why I'm asking. I know it's out there.
I never knew it to be in the township, ordinances, but I wonder if it's a state requirement.
I just looked at, it's better to protect the kids than not, so if they have an opportunity, they should have that opportunity.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's the main thing, I thought, you can only decide. And you know Mr. Pesh more than I do on how the money needs to be treated as a leak, and how fast they can travel with the needs.
Yep.
That's the main concern, obviously, the more protection on the kids, the better. And I just want to make sure that neighbors are notified, because obviously they're in here. What surprised me with a warehouse, normally they fill this room. So it's just surprising that it got through without anybody knowing, so.
It fills up Facebook page.
Well, I just want to make sure things were followed, the way they're supposed to be.
Of course.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Anyone else?
Motion to close, open public portion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
just
sir.
a follow-up to Mr. Marshall's question, and maybe our solicitor can confirm this. The notice that was provided was for preliminary and final, correct?
That's correct.
That's what the applicant requested.
Correct.
And you have a service list there, can you confirm whether or not?
That's what I'm going to do right now, and then if after public comment, I could, or rather, after we take our recess while we take a
All right, at this time, is everybody's okay with taking a 5-minute recess? Let the attorneys talk. We need to pull the pieces together.
And I'll just highlight right now, while I have it on the record, that the Board of Education for the Township of Franklin was notified.
It's notified, okay.
Was notified, Mr. Marshall.
Motion for a 5-minute recess.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we're in recess 5 minutes. Yeah. Okay, I have a motion to go back into,
Motion to resume.
Second.
say all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we're back.
The applicant would like to move forward with preliminary approval with all the conditions that were discussed this evening, and then coming back for final with actual architectural plans for what's going to be prepared, and of course satisfying all conditions for the design.
There, Counselor, Brandon?
Yep, we had a long discussion. I spoke with the board engineer as well. We relayed communication, and it seems that's the best way to move forward, given all the questions and especially the architectural designs. Obviously, the applicant is protected for 3 years after preliminary site plan, if it is granted, and that seems the best way to move forward right now. So the application will be bifurcated. It'll be a preliminary site plan only, with the idea that they will come back for a final approval if they're approved tonight.
At this time, I have a question for the applicant, Mike.
Yes.
Historically, 7202 Lot 9 has been a Q farmland parcel. is it still Q farmland parcel?
Yes.
I'm not the only one who keeps turning to the attorney.
I don't believe so.
All right, so as our engineer Wayne
Or
has
tax,
suggested.
tax purposes, yes, I believe it is, so rollback taxes.
Yeah, so that would
So
apply.
rollback kicks in.
Correct.
I'm about to say something else that some people will really hate me, but you'll want to kiss me.
Okay.
All right. In our landscaping and lighting comments, both through CNE as well as Frailinger, as per 364-6, tree removal, okay? I'm sorry, 364-2C, tree removal permit. I don't know if your engineer has talked to you about this, and what it encompasses and what it is. I believe you don't have to adhere to it, because with the woodland management plan, you can harvest your trees at any given time, as long as your forester agrees. Therefore, no tree removal permit would be necessary.
Okay. Great, thank you.
So check with the forester who set up the plan on this property.
Okay, let's try to wrap this up. Brandon, do you have any other additional comments?
I have nothing else to add, Mr.
Okay,
Chairman.
Chris, everything's in order?
Yes.
All right. Wayne, to you, both from an engineering and a planning standpoint, do you have any additional comments?
Nope, everything was covered.
Okay. To the board now, any questions for any of the professionals or the applicant?
Mr. Chairman, my only comment would be regarding the fencing around the site. It seems to be that the applicant's agreement to provide the fencing with the project ultimately would be the benefit of the end user. I don't know how the rest of the board feels on positioning the approval on the requirement of permanent fence. The applicant has to vote on it. But I would like to see that.
When you say perimeter fence, Jason, are you talking about a chain link fence or the 4-foot?
I'm talking about the vinyl pitted chain link, and that would eliminate the need for all this basic fencing, these split rail with this chicken wire or vinyl fencing.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I understood it was, once they have it, and that would, I think your question would be addressed in the final, because then there would be a tenant, and they would know at that point in time if the tenant, for security purposes or whatever, wanted to chain the fence around. So I believe Wayne left it open that either fence the retention pond as required, or waive the retention pond if the security fence was put around it. And we didn't really address what that security fence looked like, because we don't know what the building and the tenant is going to require. Is that capsulizing it correctly?
Yeah, I think my only point was, I would personally like to see a condition on the perimeter fence. I don't know, the rest of the board will consider that too.
For purposes of that issue, the applicant's been willing to save that for the final.
That's fair, because then now we know what we're looking at.
I only raised the issue because God knows if I'm going to be here in 3 years. Come back for the final. Hopefully they get back this year. You know what I mean?
You're going to move down 2 chairs, that's all. Yeah, once the hook is in, you
I'm on a
stop.
1-year appointment here, so you go at this long,
I had one note here in wrapping up. I didn't see was there an environmental report? I didn't see one in the package, but the documents were pretty thick. There was no, okay. Let's note that for the, when they come back on the final, we'll be looking for the environmental report as well from the township.
We had a page on the.
No, it's our own environmental commission.
Our commission, along with the fire marshal's report. I know he has talked about it. He has submitted information, but we also would at least want to see the environmental committee, the township environmental committee report.
Phase 1, recommend phase 2 or not?
No.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to approve the nuclear,
preliminary approval, subject to the, okay. Have a motion?
Second.
Have a second. Roll call, Chris?
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Mr. Fiorella?
Yes.
Mr. Keane?
Yes.
Mr. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Malady? Mr. Travaglione?
Yes.
Chairman Pesh?
Yes.
Congratulations.
We look forward to seeing you very soon.
Yes.
Us as well.
Take care, guys.
Thank you.
All right.
I grabbed.
Chris, any correspondence?
No, there is no correspondence.
All right. No communication?
No.
Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of January 20th, 2026.
Motion to approve minutes of January 20th.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any abstentions?
Yeah, Keane.
Brandon, any need for a closed session, Brandon? No need,
Not
that's a
today.
good thing. Any members of the board for comments? All right, at this time, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Move and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very, very much, everyone.
The old applications, I can just leave here, you guys can test them.